Hello everyone, I'm here at home again. I have a couple of new beers to kind of talk about today, and the theme today is barrel aging. So I have two very different parts of the world, but I bought them from the same place. One is the Chillhops RIPPA, aged 2 years. It's an Imperial Coffee Porter, clocks in at 10.3%. And this is very interesting too. I have a Glorious Purpose from Deeds Brewing in Melbourne, Australia. This is a blended Imperial Stout with cherries. I got this at Chillhops last weekend. This is obviously a Chillhops beer, but he also had this. And I've been looking online at the Deeds Brewing shop, and this is actually limited run, and it's sold out on their website. So there's no more of these available from them. I have one. It's worked its way over here to Korea, and I'm one of the lucky few who still have one and are going to enjoy one today. So barrel aging, so what is that? What does that mean? So essentially, beer in the past was always kept in wooden barrels. That was the only way to keep it, right? And they were usually made out of oak, a very hard wood, because the carbonation would expand the barrel, right? You needed a very strong wood to keep it. So that was just how beer was kept back then. But then as time went on and we started to get metal containers and kegs, sterility was very important. Not imparting a flavor was very important to the recipe you were doing, right? So wood kind of went out of fashion with beer making. But recently it's kind of made this comeback because we don't transport it in wood and we don't serve it in wood. But as far as aging the beer goes, keeping it in a wooden container can impart flavors and age the beer together to make this kind of really nice, new, matured flavor out of the beer. So what a lot of people are doing is they are aging the beer not in new barrels, but they're buying barrels from distilleries, mostly, or wineries, which I see less of. But what they want to do is they want to make the beer, and then those flavors from what was held in there previously, they want to come out into the beer slowly over time to create this like brand new kind of amazing sense for your tongue. The last video that I made at Fundamental, we talked about the rye barrels that they were aging the beer in and how it was incredible, that nice earthy, woody rye taste that you love in a Canadian rye whiskey really came through in that stout and is really nice. So today, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna open the Australian one and we're gonna talk about that. So I'm here on the website. They use multiple different bourbon barrels to age it because all the barrels are going to be different, right? So what they'll do is they'll make the same beer, put them in different barrels, they'll taste them over time, and then they'll kind of make a concoction of different barrels together into one drink. Maybe something's really smoky, maybe one's a bit more earthy. They'll mix it maybe 60-40, taste it. Do they like it? Yes, no. Blend a little bit of this one in here depending on what characteristics come from that specific barrel. And they'll blend it together to make this. So they also use cherries in here too. I'm super pumped for this. This cost 16,000 won at Chillhops. You're paying an import fee, obviously. This is from Australia. It's super select batch. But even then, even on the website, it's sold out now. But the price, even in Australia, to go to the brewery and buy it from the direct was, when I transfer the currency, it was 13,900. So I'm really only paying $2 extra to have the courtesy of having this available here in Korea. So it's not a huge markup at all. So let's open this, let's pour it, and let's see what happens when I let this hit my lips. All right, I've poured a little bit of this. I kind of want to get a nice nose on it. Again, like this stuff is 10.3%. No, sorry, that's 10.3. This is 12. Cost me 16 bucks. I know I look like a fancy wine snob right now, but I want to enjoy this. I'm not going to be chugging this. Oh, yeah. There's like a woodiness to it, which I guess comes from the barrel, but yeah, it's like a super malty sweetness to it too. A lot of the oxygen that comes in a barrel over the aging process mutes the hops and ups the malts to the front, right? So a lot of these barrel-aged ones aren't going to be bitter a lot. They're going to be a lot sweeter on the tongue. Oh my God. Oh, nice. Yeah, on the front there. Really, really sweet, malty, dark roasted notes. And then right in the middle there, the kind of tartness of the cherry comes through in the middle of your tongue. There's a lot of carbonation in this. I'm pretty impressed. I wonder if they forced carbonate it before they keg it. Because, yeah, if you let something carbonated in a barrel for 6 months, it should be rather flat. Should. That is so mellow. Yeah, there's like a winey aspect to it. Even though the carbonation's there, there's like this just smooth kind of like wineness, enjoyability, drinkability to it. Not so much in flavor, but in mouthfeel. Although I'm sure the cherries help with that too. Give it like a kind of reminiscent of wine. There's like a fruitiness to it, right? Cherries have that very dark, luxurious, rich kind of... Unless you're getting a tart cherry, which they didn't. Yeah, there is a very much of a... Like, kind of like raspberries too. If you let them age out, the tartness goes away and they're a lot more velvety and wine-like. In the same way that a Boc Boonja isn't sour. It has that richness that a nice kind of Cab Sauv would have. What do I give this out of 10? I'm going to factor the price into it, and that's going to affect the rating. Just because of the price, right? It's so expensive. Like, I can't, oh, it's good. Wow, 5 out of 5. I'm not going to say that. But out of 10, given the price, I'll give this like a 7.5. Really enjoyable. Just $16. Ugh. Yeah. It's, again, I keep saying this about a lot of the times I put price in. Is it a ripoff? No. But for $16, it's not quite like, whoa, mind-blowing, right? So, actually, you know what? I'll give it an 8. I'll jack it up a bit. It's very nice, though. Again. Nick, you fill your cans. Look at this. Look at this beer. Jesus. I said this in my mountain climbing video, but, you know, I'm glad you fill them so much. But holy hell, does it make it quite the task to open. So, let's get a pour. This is 10.3. This is aged 2 years, which is insane. A lot of, and I can't speak for every brewery, but a lot of breweries that do aging will age 6 months, 8 months, a year. Again, I'm not an expert on what every brewery in the world is doing, but you generally don't age for that long. That's a long time. Ooh, that is, it's amazing how different the barrels between the Australian one and the Nick one can be. Oh, that's much more earthy and peaty and smoky than the Deeds Brewing. I almost forgot the name of the brewery in Australia, just for the simple fact that I'm not familiar with that brewery at all, but Deeds Brewing, yeah. So Chillhops, this one, again, 10.3, 2 years, Imperial Coffee Porter. The coffee might be also what's doing that kind of the word I'm looking for is volatile organic compound. But it's this is much more like, woo, rather than like, sweet. This one is much more in your face with the aroma. Good Lord. This is much more, it tastes fresher. There's much more of like a hoppy aleness to it. That's really weird. But there's almost like there's like a smoky burntness to it. Burnt in a good sense. Like roasted, I guess. But that's really interesting. This one, I guarantee you, is aged longer than the first one. I don't have the amount of aging on the first one, but 2 years is a fucking long time. And for whatever reason, oh yeah, there's like a herbally, yeah, this one tastes fresher than the first one. This reminds me, there's something else there. It's not salty, but there's almost like a vegetable soup broth savoriness to it that goes down. Yeah, there's like a very roasted coffee flavor to it. There's a hoppy kind of freshness to it too, which again is bizarre. And there's almost like a savory vegetable broth to it. But like low sodium, if that makes any sense. Low sodium vegetable broth. Good Lord. I'm gonna give the prize as far as taste goes to Deeds, just because it's so fucking smooth. But again, this is 16 and this is, I think I paid 8 or 7 something, so it's half the price. But yeah, there is a certain smoothness. 12%, 10.3%. There's a certain smoothness to the Deeds, and maybe a blending that they did where they, you know, the picture I'll show you now is Deeds barrel program. And now Chillhops barrel program is 6 barrels. So I imagine the sheer size of Deeds lets them age, barrel, blend, perfect. Nick, as much as I love Chillhops and as good as the brewery is, doesn't have the luxury of having 80 barrels to kind of scientifically and master mix, right? If he ages, it ages, and it is what it is. And this is certainly not a bad beer. There's elements of aging to it. There's a certain amount of, like, again, broth, like a vegetable broth. There's this kind of savoriness to it that has been aged. But there's also the hoppiness and the freshness to it that's kind of weird. By this, it's by no means a criticism of the beer. I guess it's hard to compare them to just because of the adjuncts that were used. We're talking coffee versus cherries. So as much as I want to talk about both these beers and review barrel aging as a general theme, comparing them directly, I mean, they're coffee versus cherry are complete opposite ends of the flavor spectrum. This one is much more of a whiskey, peaty, smoky, even if the barrels don't impart that feeling with the adjunct, rather than a cherry adjunct in the barrels in the Deeds one. So, but I mean, this is definitely worth buying. There's this really champagne-y carbonation bang to it that's really fresh and exciting on your tongue. The Deeds one isn't exciting on your tongue. It's much more of a laid-back, relaxed vibe. I prefer that, given these two beers, but again, you're paying 16 for the Deeds and 8 for this. So there is a genuine, massive gap in the money that you're putting into these beers. So I'm kind of curious to get more barrel-aged things in Korea. Bud Namu makes one that I think I'm going to try and pick up. We'll see what happens in the future, but I'm very impressed with both of these. Again, one is kind of like a more fresh coffee flavor, and one of them is more of a relaxed wine flavor, and I prefer the wine flavor, honestly. But yeah, I'll give this a 7, and I'll give the Deeds an 8, but given the price difference, you know, 7 versus 8, Nick, don't be upset. You're half the price, 7 versus 8. Everyone's in the clear here. Anyway, I'm rambling, but that's because I've had 2 cans, 12 and 10.3, in the space of 45 minutes. So forgive me, but I'll see you in the next video. It'll be with Ash Tree again. We'll talk about the brewery, and I'll see you next Friday.